Welcome to the online lecture on YouTube. Tonight we're going to be talking about poverty. I also have a couple theories that we're going to be discussing, and those are not for your theory cards, but some of you may want to make cards just to have a larger set. So let's go ahead and get started. First we're going to be talking about poverty around the world. Then we'll talk about the U.S. poverty a little bit. Here's some global facts. If you don't have your PowerPoint out, you might want to stop this clip and print your PowerPoint so you can follow along. Half the world, nearly 3 billion people, live on less than $2 a day. Less than 1 cent of what the world spends on weapons was needed to put every child across the globe in school in 2000. And of course, did it happen? No, it did not happen. We know that. According to UNICEF, 30,000 children die each day due to poverty. Let's talk about the priorities across the world. This is going to be in U.S. billions of dollars. Cosmetics in the U.S. $8 million were spent on cosmetics in the U.S. $8 billion. Ice cream in Europe alone, $11 billion was spent. Business entertaining in Japan, $35 billion was spent. Narcotics, drugs, $400 billion across the world. And military spending, now this is prior to the current war we're in, was $780 billion across the globe. When we're looking at some of the other priorities, which of course are priorities for social work, U.S. billions of dollars again. Basic education for everyone across the globe, $6 billion was spent. Safe water and sanitation, $9 billion. Reproductive health across the globe, $12 billion. And basic health and nutrition, only $13 billion was spent. Amazing, huh? So let's look at the historical progress. This is in the U.S. Poverty has dramatically decreased in the last 100 years. In your chart from your PowerPoint, you can see that from 1900, we had a poverty rate in the U.S. of 66%. 1920, 59%. 1940, 48%. 1960, 19%, 1980, 10, and 2000 was 11%. And the standard was using 3 times the necessary food requirement as a cutoff. And by looking at this information from the Census Bureau, you can see that poverty has dramatically decreased. And so it would be really important to ask why. Why has poverty decreased? Well, before we get started, let's talk about who are the poor first. Any guesses? Who comes to mind? Who are the poor? Women and children are the top two groups. For children, the official poverty rate was substantially higher for any other group. Children, especially in single-parent homes, was very high. Marriage tends to be associated with lower rates of poverty. So in 2000, the poverty rate for female heads of household with children and no husband present was 26.5%. And by contrast, married couples was 4.9%. Now that is huge. Also, in 2003, 15.5 million, or 11.3% of males were in poverty. By contrast, 20.3 million females were in poverty. So have we achieved equality yet? Good question. Here's another chart. And this is poverty rates for working men and working women in '99. And this is by sex, race, and Hispanic origin. So if you have a chance, please pull out this chart so you can follow along with me. If you notice that for white men, that was the lowest rate of poverty. Next was white women. Black men was 6.2%, which is just a 2-point difference between white women And then it jumps. Black women up to 13.6, double the percent of poverty. And actually the highest rate of poverty, according to this chart. Men of Hispanic origin and women of Hispanic origin were very similar at 10.9 and 10.5 rates of poverty. So let's talk about how poverty has decreased and what could be the reasons. Well, there's many reasons, and it's a highly complex issue. But if we were to categorize them, we can look at public policy, focusing on equalizing incomes and wealth. An example of the war on poverty. Also, tax laws are important. And then also natural economic growth would be another reason. Attempts to equalize society more can be from voluntary charitable transfers of wealth, and really, really important is changing laws. Giving an opportunity for the poor, and sometimes at the expense of the non-poor. Changing the laws, very, very big. So what kind of laws need to be changed or have been changed that have impacted poverty? The minimum wage law, that's very big. In 1985, I was a junior in high school, got my first job at the airport serving ice cream. I was making $5.15 an hour, and at that time it was minimum wage. And my son, when he was 17, which is just a few months ago, but when he was a senior in high school, he got his first job, and he was not making very much more. And it's just amazing how the minimum wage law just hadn't changed in 20 years. I mean, it changed, but just not very dramatically. Other laws that really impact poverty: rent control laws, public relief laws, which is welfare, and also educational opportunities. One of the wonderful things that Nevada has for a select group of people at a certain time is the Millennium Scholarship, and many of you may have actually received the Millennium. Fabulous opportunity for education. And of course, tax laws greatly impact poverty. When I mentioned the scholarship, the education factor, that is so key and crucial in the complex issue of poverty. Educated people have higher income potential, are better able to improve the quality of their lives. Persons with a basic education, at least a basic education, are likely to know about the availability of services in any community. They may participate in local and national government through voting and community involvement. And for many, education is recognized as a basic human right. It's closely linked to all dimensions of development: human development, economic development, and social development. So that's the little mini lecture on poverty. I'm going to stop the clip right now, and we'll have part 2, and we're going to talk about a couple different theories. See you then.